Hey guys, it's Mark here and welcome back to Digi Profits. It's been a few days since my last video because my son Hudson, my 3-year-old, I have 4 kids, accidentally spilled water on my laptop, which I normally record from. So instead of recording from my office, from my laptop, I'm now recording from home, from my Mac Mini in my garage. Yes, this is my garage. I will show you what I mean if I simply go ahead and I'm just going to change my virtual background to none. You'll see, look, I'm actually in my garage right now recording this. So anyway, I thought this would look a little bit nicer just to chuck that in the background because it's a bit of a mess. But anyway, let's get underway. So in this video, we're going to have a look at price action on DeFi kingdoms. We're going to look at price action at Bitcoin and the wider markets and where things may be looking for a possible bottom at some stage and possible ways in which this could play out going forwards in terms of buy-in times and stuff like that. So it's all about price action, really, this particular video, both Bitcoin and also DeFi kingdoms dual. So first of all, I'll just show you my pets. As you can see, I have hatched one more pet since the last video and actually ended up getting quite lucky. I got a legendary that's got a bunch of stat bonuses, and I noticed that other people are selling this kind of thing. In fact, let's go have a look what price people are selling this for. If I went for pet rarity at the moment, I'm just going to keep it to use in the game, but for now, I mean, I may sell, I don't know, but for now, I'll just keep it for use in the game. But if I go legendary only, look at the ones that are for sale, right? Shiny and apply, and not under my pets, under pet catalog. So ones that have got, well, I had a three stat bonus there and a 2 stat bonus. I had a 3 and a 2. This one's selling for 5,000. That doesn't mean they're necessarily going to get that because this person's selling theirs for 400 and it's arguably slightly better. But I have noticed sales of this sort of price point, 888 for the similar stat bonus to mine. So I don't really know what it would go for, but I would say it would go for anywhere from 350 to 800. And I think maybe those other price points might be wishful thinking, unless there's more to it than what I am currently aware of. You know, because I'm more looking forward to being able to use the pets themselves and see how they actually work out in the game for now. But anyway, that was great. Hatched a legendary. That's awesome. Okay, so what about the price point? Let's go over and look at Bitcoin first of all. Now, Bitcoin, I'm looking on the weekly time frame because when you look from day to day, I notice people's moods change very, very quickly when they see, oh, great, things are going up. That's awesome. But in fact, I'll show you on the daily what that can look like. On the daily, and looks like a couple of good days. Oh, this is the turnaround. Don't. Things go back down again. Oh, it's the turnaround. Oh, things go down again. Oh, it's the turnaround. Oh, things go down again. Oh, it's the big, you know, a few green candles in a row. Oh, no, we're back testing, you know, their 25-day moving average. It's, you know, it's just noise right now. It's all noise until you end up actually breaking through significant barriers. Like, unless, like, most of the market cycle bottoms have actually, on the qualitative, quantitative easing analysis, have usually gone ahead and gone into this zone here, this purple zone. So there's an argument to say that, look, back here, we just touched it, right? And then we touched it again with the blue. I won't explain how this one works here, but usually the blue coming up is usually a sign that we've had a turnaround there once both have hit a market cycle bottom. Just like back here, they both hit, and then it was a sign that we're on our way up. But actual market cycle back there, both hitting was obviously the second one doesn't hit till after. It's more of a confirmation that, yes, this is the start of something. But anyway, hitting here was the bottom there. I know we're down further, but in the past we have gone down further. We've gone right into this box. So that's why I've got the box going as far in as I have seen in other market cycles. Okay, that's not to say we can't go lower than the box. It's just historically we haven't yet for Bitcoin. Okay, so that's how far it's gone. So potentially, based on this, the market cycle bottom could be around September, which would make sense from the point of view, I mean, before September, sorry, like around August, and then coming up from September onwards. That would make sense for a number of point of views. Firstly, we're probably going to have 2 or 3 more interest rate hikes. That's probably going to leave the market in more bearish until the Fed pivots. So the Fed could pivot and go, right, we've had enough rate hikes by then, or we're just going to do a 25 basis point hike and then maybe no more after that. And at that point, that would probably help cause a bottom. Also, looking at it from the point of view of the relative strength index. I mean, this is generally a little more accurate than the relative strength index, but looking at the relative strength index, we go into this box and it's usually the bottom, okay? It's not impossible that we're at the bottom now because we are touching it, and that has happened before back in COVID. That was the bottom, but it's not always the bottom, okay? At least at some of the points, we've hit right into it, and the average, the yellow line, has gone right into it, market cycle bottom. I would argue that this was the market cycle bottom here and not the COVID, because I think that was a black swan event which took us down lower, and I think we would have just gone straight across there if it wasn't for COVID. Okay, so I think that caused a little bit of an anomaly. So anyway, looking at that, then the yellow line has not, the average RSI has not reached the bottom, and that probably wouldn't till around September either. Okay. So also historically, normally, apart from a black swan event like COVID, normally we hit the 200-day moving average and use it as support. If we go through the 100-day, you test the 200-day for several weeks. Okay, we have not done that yet. We've done that in the past. See, you know, you hit your 200-day way back there, and you're testing it for some time during the bear market. But the good thing is you're moving up. You're getting higher lows on the way up. We haven't got that yet. It's not impossible that it can happen above that. There's going to, you know, Bitcoin hasn't been around long enough in order to see enough market cycles. You look at the stock market, you might see something play out 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row for 4 cycles, and then suddenly it doesn't the 5th time. We don't know yet. We haven't had 5, 6, 7 market cycles of Bitcoin halvings. Like, we haven't had long enough to know what percentage of the time that this will happen. It won't happen 100% of the time for the next 50 billion halvings. It's just not going to work like that, but it may happen 80% of the time, and it might happen again this time. One reason also why it may happen is because the next fib line down, and these Fibonacci lines often tend to play out as resistance points. The next fib line down, and we're using the other one as sort of like we're struggling to break through it, is around the same level as the 200-day moving average. So we could totally end up around that level as a bottom. That's 22.5K. So that is quite possible. Also, we're not out of the downtrend unless we have 1, like you've got to break through this fib level. 2, you've got to break through the 100-day moving average and use it as support. 3, you've got to be able to break out of this downtrend line as well, like break through that line as well. So there's a few key lines to get through in order to have real confirmation. And then, I mean, ultimately you want to have your 25 and 50-day moving averages. You want to be above that as well. And then you're really, really looking bullish. So there's a lot of key little areas. However, those that are accumulating around this zone here, even if they accumulate up here and not down here, likely at some point when you're on the way up, that still turns out to be a very good zone to have accumulated in. With regards to Bitcoin, that doesn't necessarily hold true for the altcoins. Altcoins can go a lot lower while Bitcoin is ranging for a number of reasons. First, let's have a look at the S&P 500, because Bitcoin seems to be tracking reasonably closely with that these days. And as you can see, apart from COVID caused that big dump, 200-day moving average was support back here, and then We haven't hit the 200-day moving average, so we possibly could. But there have been times in the past where we haven't, and we've just hit the 100-day. One other telling thing is that the RSI is as low now as it was back in December 2018 when it had its last big dip down before it carried on and had a couple more years up. So from a relative strength index point of view, it's at the same level. The average is the same as well. The average is the same as here, here, and here. We are almost, not quite there on the quantitative qualitative easing graph. We are almost at that bottom level there. I mean, it's the same level on the purple line, just the blue line hasn't come down and confirmed and started ticking up. So we're not 100% sure yet, but the blue line always does that after the purple. So it's already a bit more confirmation by the time that does happen. So, I mean, it is possible we're at the bottom or nearing the bottom there, according to this graph as well. I would say it's looking likely that we're going to retest the bottom of the RSI. It'll print a lower RSI like this one here, and this one here will perhaps just touch down to here and here, and then come back up. So stock market's probably looking in line with the Bitcoin graph as well. Okay, so how does this affect Joule? Well, Joule obviously had a bounce during Bitcoin's little bounce a few days ago. And then all of a sudden, Joule's had a dip because Bitcoin had a big dip today. Joule's 12%. So that means Bitcoin, generally, that'll mean it's been like 5% or something. And I can't find it just on here. It's not 1%. It was, I mean, unless it's 1%, it might be 1% now from that time yesterday, but there was enough of a jump that at one point it was certainly about 5% down for the 24-hour period, but obviously there was a wick down maybe exactly 24 hours ago, so it's not showing right there, but you get the idea. Altcoins bleed against Bitcoin, but they still play out according to their own Fibonacci levels in terms of how far and wide they hit their support. And what we've found here is Joule has been in a downtrend for quite some time. All right, it's an inflationary token for the short term. Long term, it's not an inflationary token because there's a limit on the supply. But short term, there is, because the supply is not all out there and it's been released relatively quickly. So we were already starting a bit of a downtrend way back here, okay? And we were drifting sort of along this trend line. Then we had the launch of Crystal Veil, which kind of threw a spanner in the works. It got people really excited for like a few weeks on end, and it just flew all the way up to here. But then there was a bit of a sell-off, which brought us back to around here. We were showing support there. We may have been able to hold, but Bitcoin had a big dump, followed by the issues that went on with a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You know, people were wondering what's going on with Frisky Fox and his previous involvement with Viper Swap, and people were worried about the that he might be leaving, which he wasn't. He was just put it to the vote that people make sure that people were happy that he stays in his position. And then there were people that were worried about the mining exploit. I know it didn't get exploited by very many people, but it was enough to get people worried about all this unlocked Joule suddenly entering the market, which didn't eventuate, but it could have theoretically. And then there's people also worried about the future, and maybe 3-4 months, September comes around and Joule will start, the unlocked Joule will start to unlock at 2% per week until it's all unlocked over a 1-year period. So there's people concerned about that as well. So there's enough reasons why people have been, and obviously with Bitcoin being bearish, that's the big key. So that's caused all altcoins to go down, and all the liquidity pools and so forth, where there's been that cascading effect downwards of all altcoins relative to each other and so forth. So anyway, breaking that downtrend during a Bitcoin downtrend is very difficult. It's not impossible, but it certainly is difficult. And the times that it does happen, let's have a look. When did we break it? We had a sort of an angling in here. We had quests being released also. So a little catalyst angling in here. You're either going to dip down or you're going to go up around this point, right? and all of a sudden there's quests, and bam, people are buying more heroes because there's quests available. They are keeping more money in liquidity pools. There's more people staying than leaving because they now want to use their heroes to garden in their LPs. There's all of that sort of stuff going on, and bam, the price is going up. So, you know, that catalyst to come could be the same catalyst, questing over here. When that comes on Crystal Veil, people may, Jewel will be burned as a gas token, and there'll be a lot more transactions going on. There will be people wanting to stay in the LPs so that they can garden more. There's more reason to have money in those LPs. It's particularly Jewel and ex-Jewel. And that may cause some people to even sell out of, say, Jewel Harmony 1 over on Serendale and go, no, I'll just go Jewel ex-Jewel over on Crystal Veil because more of it is now unlocked at this point, and I can garden over here as well. That could also cause that. And that means that the Jewel price goes up, because if people own Jewel ex-Jewel instead of Jewel 1 or Jewel AVAX or Jewel something else, that also will mean more people are actually theoretically holding Jewel specifically. So there's reasons why that could be a catalyst. And then if the price is going up, that brings attention, and that's helps bring players into the game. It's hard to bring players in the game if you're on a downtrend for a long time. You need to be able to show some signs of a reversal, like at some point, or at least a flattening, because some people may be in it for the emissions and so forth and say, oh, at least it's looking pretty flat now. So, okay, so there's that time it pumped up. There's this time, the same thing, it angled in, like on this line here, this line there, angled in. The squeeze was on there. I actually bought a reasonable amount of my position at that time. Here, once we'd confirmed that we were above the trend line there, the downtrend line, we'd broken through it, and I knew Crystal Veil was coming, so that made me think that that catalyst is going to cause it to go up, and it did. It went all the way up to there. Theoretically here, and the yellow line, by the way, that is our 21-week moving average, and this is our 50-week moving average is the blue line. Ultimately, you know, you go through both of those, you're probably going to have a bit of a pump up. Here, same thing, bang, 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 like that. And we're in a bear market. We've been in a bear market for like a year, and it's like this, and it's particularly since November. So it is very likely that these graphs and stuff could look a whole lot different in a bull market. But for now, this is how things are looking in a bear market overall with a new cryptocurrency. So that's why, you know, you never go all in on these low market cap alts coins, particularly when it's during a bear market. It just pays to be very cautious. You may want to position in the game so that you understand it, and just in case things fly up from here and it turns out to be a bottom, but you probably don't want to over commit, because there's every chance that it may end up going a lot lower before it goes higher, and that may be where the real gains are made. So look at this. We tested the fib line and the resistance line, you know, our downtrend line, tested. We hit here. I was hopeful we could break through, but then Bitcoin had a dump. So bang, now we've just passed through the fib line, which means we may end up in this little area here around 37 cents. We may. It's not a guarantee. That may not happen, especially as Bitcoin itself may pop up again. We don't know. And if that does, then we could get out of if we could get out of our downtrend line here, that would be very helpful, because a lot of people that are trading and buying are looking at these trend lines and make their decisions based on them, and they are more likely to go in if they see that that is broken, particularly if you use this fib line as support, or the 21 day moving average as support. If we use it as support, that's also a very bullish sign that can let people say, hey, I think we're due, this latest catalyst is bringing us up. Okay, so the things to look out for, you know, it'd be really nice to see us just trade crossways, even across there. I don't know how likely that is though, given the current market conditions. So there's every chance that we may see these lower levels. Okay, so never go all in. I'm long-term bullish, but short-term very skeptical about how this is. So how this is going to play out. Okay, so I hope that all of this makes sense to you guys. There's also something coming up that could make things quite bullish long-term. Medium term. And that is the fact that right now it is you still earn a higher APR in terms of unlocked if you are in Serendale. But there will come a point around about maybe 6 weeks from now where it is the same in terms of the unlocked jewel. You'll have about as much unlocked jewel over here as you have over on Crystal Vale, because at the moment on Crystal Vale, it's about 75% of it is locked, but that 75% will become 73, 71, 69. And, you know, eventually it gets to a point where you've got enough of it as unlocked relative to the higher emissions that it's on at this point in its release cycle, that at that point you may find some people going, you know what, I'm going to sell a bit more of my, say, Joule 1 pool, and I'm going to go into Joule X Joule over here. So that means that they're going to be selling, say, Harmony 1 and buying Joule. So more Joule is now held, which brings the price of Joule up, right? And they're earning those APRs, which will be in crystal, of course. So, and combine that with people, if they're doing questing over there, if and when that comes out, short term, long before the unlocking starts, that could certainly be the next catalyst, especially if Bitcoin is trending sideways or up at that moment. That could be the next catalyst that causes, you know, something like this. What I would love to see is that next catalyst, if it's strong enough, can either bring us, like we did here, back to our trend line. All right, I'd definitely be looking a bit cautious if we were back at our trend line. Or the ultimate scenario is that you get back in and you hit the upper trend line, and then we're back on track again. The upper trend line. I know that that's a downtrend line, but in a bear market, you've got to assume that the trend line overall will be down. But you want to overall be on this end of the trend line, the higher, like the moments where you are up higher. And then obviously you break this trend line during and end up on a slant up like this one, when Bitcoin itself is truly in a bull market. Okay, so anyway, covered quite a lot of stuff here to do with different things to do with the price action on Joule, Bitcoin, S&P 500, and so forth. And I hope that you guys find this interesting and helpful. Bear in mind, this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm thinking. This is what's enabling me to make a few decisions here and there. And I am overall long-term bullish. Short to medium term, I'm bearish. I'm just being very careful, but you never know if you've got it wrong. So that's why I always have a position in the game, or in all of crypto as a whole, during this time. So anyway, that's it from this particular video. I've got a lot more coming up. I'll probably discuss at some point shorting. I'm not a big fan of shorting the market, but I've certainly done a lot better out of shorting in general in the last several months than I have out of going long. Shorting's actually done quite well. So that's something also to have a look at. It can be risky. Look at all the number of people that got shorted today on Bitcoin. Bang, all of this shorts. That's why there was a lot of selling pressure, because all the shorts got liquidated. You know, so shorting can certainly be risky, but if you do it from the right points and you do it with just small amounts of money, it can sort of be like an insurance policy against the rest of your crypto that's not going in the direction that you want it to during a downtrend. So it's just something interesting to look out for coming up. All right, that's it from this particular video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.